Welcome back to Hell to Pay Podcasts, the podcast that has been banned, that is right, banned from advertising revenue because our content is too spicy. We just found that out this week, so if you want to stick it to the man and sign up to our Substack, we'll be building that out more in future. But anyway, I'm Elle.
And this is Armour.
And today we're joined by our good mate Connor from the Propagandos.
Propagandos, whatever.
Podcast. Okay, so Connor, who are you and what the fuck are you doing here?
So I'm a podcaster. I'm currently, a graduate student down here in Houston, and I'm pursuing my master's in math comm, and originally I was looking at, how does SNL and The Daily Show talk about politicians? And it was so boring, and I had to watch a lot of content I didn't want to watch, and so I decided to pivot to what are conservative streaming services looking like, though,
surprisingly more fun than SNL.
Sometimes it's more fun to laugh at with a friend, which my good buddy Alec, my co-host on Propagandos, he and I have a hoot and a half just cutting up watching a lot of stuff, mostly from Angel Studios, but we talk about propaganda narratives within the media, both on the left and the right, and then just the weird, massive amount of Christian movies and TV shows and Christian content that's coming out of streaming services and Hollywood. Or now Atlanta, really.
I can't recommend Propagandos enough. They've had me there multiple times, and I've inflicted the movie, The Message, and Lion of the Desert on them. And I believe I'm getting Connor close to converting to Islam.
I'm this close. I'm trying to find the right sect of Islam before I take the Shahada. But I can tell you that I had an alert on my phone for a good copy of The Message and Lion of the Desert, and I found them. I have 4K UHD
Hell yes. Hell yes.
They're so good. The Message is probably up there with the best thing I've ever watched for the podcast. And Lion of the Desert is the best. War film, Elle suggested a not as good war film.
I listened to your episode, and then I tried watching Inchon, and I got about 15 minutes through, and I was like, this is dog shit. I hate this. Fuck off.
So far, I'm the only one who watched the whole thing.
Yeah, even I checked, because I was watching with friends, and so, yeah, we were getting, and it was oh god, this is going to be a half an hour battle scene, and it was, so yeah, we did fast forward through that, although actually I thought the battle scenes were probably, the part that would recommend the film the most.
Oh yeah, very fun.
They spared no expense on those. Yeah, it was a wild ride.
Very much so. I'm here because I wanted to talk to y'all about the Chick-fil-A streaming app, and also, additionally, Chick-fil-A, well, not so much Chick-fil-A, but so much as the chairman of the company, Cathy, former CEO, his latest foray into movies with Trilith Studios that is based out in Atlanta and is completely changing the Hollywood landscape. So...
Cool. Yeah, so I guess, do you want to just give us a little bit, can you give us a little bit about the background of Cathy and his chicken empire?
Yeah, so Cathy is the son of Trilith Cathy, who's the founder of Chick-fil-A. He was the guy in charge of Chick-fil-A during the big Sarah Palin heyday of boycotting Chick-fil-A due to their disdain for gay marriage. I'll phrase it that way. They
also are closed every Sunday, aren't they? They're the one restaurant that closes every Sunday for some reason.
That is right. They stand by their Baptist values in nearly every regard. So yeah, they're closed on Sunday, and they say "my pleasure," which is charming to hear at Chick-fil-A. But there's another chicken restaurant that clearly poached some Chick-fil-A restaurants in Houston, and they say "my pleasure," and that makes me very mad. If when I would eat at Chick-fil-A way back when, and I hear "my pleasure," I'd be like, "Oh, that's nice." And now I'm like, "Do not say that. Don't say it. This is Lane's chicken strips. You can't say that right now." But yeah, please.
No, just exposing my failure as an American. Is the food actually any good, or is it where is it on the fast food tier?
It's pretty good.
I must confess. They opened a shop in Toronto, and boycotts, etc. But I had to try it once. I had to see what this is about, and I will say it's probably the best chicken restaurant. The specialty of all the specialty chickens, like your KFCs, your Popeyes, it's the best one out there. Unfortunately,
really,
they smartly do a pickle juice brine for all their chicken. and then they use peanut oil and a great it's like high quality ingredients. They have their own like distributors, so if you open up a Chick-fil-A franchise, you're using Chick-fil-A's products, and so the quality is consistent across the board across the country. It's pretty good, but due to the content that I'm talking about today, I have effectively decided to boycott. Do not applaud me for boycotting Chick-fil-A, because I can easily just go get another chicken sandwich elsewhere. It's not like I'm walking to work and boycotting a bus. I've told people that before and people applauded me. I'm like, stop it. Stop. That's not what I'm doing here.
It's really good, though. It's really good. So you should be applauded for
Yeah, I'll like
really
applaud
good.
you if you like the next time you get stoned and this conversation is on your brain and then you're able to like resist.
Yeah.
The thing is, the only restaurant in my hotel is a Chick-fil-A. And I was like, fuck me. What am I going to do for dinner? So I got to find like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something. They're cool, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so back to Dan Cathy. He is a typical rich guy's son. And what I mean by that is, besides just inheriting the company, he had lots and lots of little hobbies that his, dad's wealth afforded him to be able to pursue. Some of these are photography. He's an amateur photographer. He plays the trumpet. One of the employees of the production company he owns said that he's always been a jazz man at heart, which I think is the dumbest thing to say about the Chick-fil-A guy. Okay. And so he's also like a big aviation guy, and he has his own plane, has his own hangar, which ties into how he got started in the Hollywood industry, which was that the show that was on Lifetime called Drop Dead Diva. It's about a ghost that possesses a lawyer. It's not for me. I've seen it before, whatever. But they needed a hangar, and he was just like, hey, I'm here. You're filming in Atlanta. We're both Christians. Why don't you come use my hangar? And just being on set. And this is probably the most humanizing thing about him, because I have been on a set where I'm like, wow, the talkies. I want to get into movie biz now. This is incredible. So he got the bug, and he decided, I'm just going to start buying up a bunch of property here in Atlanta and open up a production company. And he succeeded.
Wow, it's very, very Kim Jong-il vibes.
Yeah, imagine. What's very funny about that, though, I had the same thought when I looked up his son, who I'm blanking on his first name, but he's the current CEO of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And he shaved his head similar to how Dan Cathy and Truett Cathy did. And it looks like with Dan Cathy, you can see the wisps of what hair remains. And on the current CEO, there's no hair at all. And it just feels like that's the Kim family haircut for the Chick-fil-A. Is if you're a Cathy, you're shaving your head.
That's great. Just very quick digression, and this is definitely going to set Arma's convinced that I'm CIA because I've been to all sorts of weird places. But
Just say things like, I went to a football game in Kyrgyzstan. I smoked an opium with a fucking veteran of the Iran-Iraq war. What do you do when someone tells you something like that?
Well, yeah. So when I was in North Korea a few years ago, I was told that there's like a famous American soldier who defected to North Korea at some point in the, I think it was like well after the Korean War. Like I think he was
To be
just
fair,
like
I think Dennis Rodman is known more for his basketball than his soldiery, but...
Yeah, no, this guy, I think he was like a DMZ guy that just like ran over, like, and anyway, so he's had like 2 sons in North Korea, and they are, I'm guessing, yeah, they must be half Korean, but anyway, like for the film industry, Kim Jong-il was like always just trying to make these epic films, and it always tended to center on like the Korean War or whatever. And so these guys were just permanently like the only 2 actors who played the Americans.
American Soldier number 1, American Soldier number 2.
Yeah, just like every film, these 2 kids are in it.
It's like a Scorsese movie where you're like, oh, that guy's been in every mafia movie and show that's ever been made. Wow, there he is. Do you want me to talk about the Chick-fil-A app?
Yeah, please. So, I can lead you in. Okay, so tell us about this app that they've made.
Okay, so the Chick-fil-A Play app, which launched probably in October of last year. It's a relatively new app, and it started during the tenure of Dan Cathy's son, which I might as well just look that up because I feel like I'm going to refer to him too much. Apologies.
While you're doing that, I'm curious, how difficult was it getting into Pyongyang?
Actually, not that hard. So you can there's a visa like for foreign tourists and stuff. So it's actually not that hard. It was like it's harder to get into like Turkmenistan. Like 5 times fewer people go there, and that's the same kind of thing. You have to have a guide. But yeah, no, it was like they definitely do tours. Like there were maybe, when we were there, I don't know, maybe like 100 Westerners in the country at that time, like on different tours.
And was your tour guide good? Would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 2 or 3.
I'm interested. I'm serious.
Yeah, like it was fun and it was interesting. Although I do remember like we were only there for like 6 days and then leaving, and when we got over the border into China, everyone just started hugging each other because it just was like, it is very weird and intense. But yeah, the tour guides so we had like a foreign tour guide who's been there a lot, and then we have you have to have 2 local ones, so a man and a woman, and they were cool. And he was like fully brainwashed, like started singing like patriotic songs and crying, and she was like a diplomat. To be able to like learn English and stuff, you got to be, you know, sort of high caste, and she was like a diplomat's daughter, so she'd been to like China and stuff, and she was like, I was all bull for shit, and she's like, you know, every fucking tourist that comes here like tries to show me Gangnam Style, and she's like, I've seen it.
No, I'm gonna show her Cholima on the Wing, baby. Let's fucking go. I'm going to be singing that with a guy crying.
Yeah. But she did have to follow me into the bathroom one time, which was a bit creepy at the Kim, like, mausoleum.
Okay,
just, like, had to wait outside. Okay, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So, yeah, the Chick-fil-A Play app, which was started in October of last year, 2024, this was started under the tenure of Andrew Cathy, who's the current CEO of Chick-fil-A, you know, the latest scion of this family. And as you guys may know, there's so many different streaming services out right now, like to the point that like they're now bundling independently of each other. Like you can get a Disney Plus and HBO bundle. So we're basically just reinventing cable. But a lot of the streaming services are also politicized. Beyond that, we're now moving into brands have their own streaming app. Starbucks just launched its own production house called Starbucks Studios. Anheuser-Busch, Procter & Gamble, Chipotle, and Lyft are also getting into the streaming game, which is really, really weird. And then Chuck E. Cheese also is getting into the streaming game where they only show like their content at their restaurants. And there's a statement from their press release that I love reading for people, which is Chuck E. Cheese is more than just an entertainment destination. We're becoming one of the most powerful family media platforms in the country. Which is so weird to hear from Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay, I don't understand. First of all, what are these people making? Like, what sort of films are they making? And second of all, what do they like? Do they hope that by like placing McDonald's in a fucking or a Chipotle in a fucking scene in one film, you're gonna go be like, ooh, I want Chipotle? Is it all a marketing thing?
Well, to hear these stories tell it, these brands are all about telling stories. It's like, okay, when I worked at Starbucks, that was kind of in the employee manual too. It was like the story of the coffee from the moment the seed is planted to the moment you're drinking it. And I'm like, I don't think our customers want to know all that.
No.
They're drinking fucking Starbucks. They just like want to grab something and go off to their shitty job. Like,
exactly. Yeah. That's how I felt when I got my Starbucks today. I was like, I just got to get to my hotel. But with Lyft, Amr, to your question, Lyft produced a travel show with Bob the Drag Queen. So they are producing content that's kind of within their product wheelhouse. And Chick-fil-A, with Chick-fil-A Play, they are creating content that, you know, they say that entertainment and games are very crucial to eating with your family members. And so they've created content that you can listen to while you're in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru line. There's like a comedy variety show podcast. Yeah. It's called...
Who's like on that? Like Steven Crowder or something?
That would probably be more entertaining. It's called The Fun Lane.
Just fucking listen to regular podcasts like us, you know? If you're in the Chick-fil-A line, just listen to Hell to
Just listen to fucking Rogan, like, come on.
No,
what are we doing here?
I do think I was listening to y'all's podcast in the car once as I was going through a drive-thru, and I was just like sheepishly turning it down as y'all were like, you know, going off on some really good content. But just imagining pulling up to Chick-fil-A, wearing a Chick-fil-A branded shirt while listening to The Fun Lane. Just the obsequious brand loyalty that comes out of an app like this is very insane. But they also have other content. They have a podcast called The Ice Lions, which is based on the real first ice hockey team in Kenya. And they have a show called Cow Tales, which I actually like. It's very slapsticky. It's very funny. A lot of the humor comes from the cows. There are 3 animated cows, like kind of Wallace and Gromit style. So it looks like it's clay animation, but it's actually, you know, probably made in Blender or something on a computer. And a lot of the humor comes from the cows, like not being able to communicate with human beings. And as someone who, you know, is kind of partial to the physical slapstick of the Three Stooges, or even, you know, in a contemporary world, the Minions, Cow Tales is good. I'm sorry to say, I actually really liked it.
How much time have you spent watching this?
I have watched and listened to every single thing on the Chick-fil-A Play app because there's not much. There's only 3 episodes of Cowtales. There's probably like 12 to 20 episodes of the show called Legends of Evergreen Hills, which is a 3D animated fantasy series that it follows this little girl that discovers magic that is born out of human kindness called sparks. And just like there are people who try to steal the spark. So, whatever. It's just, you put it on for your kid, and it doesn't explicitly say, worship Christ, become a Baptist or anything like that. But
I was going to ask, like, are they aiming, like, is any of this meant to, like, convert X number of people to baptism per year?
Not at this time, but I am suspicious, right? So I like to compare it to Angel Studios, which started off as a Christian streaming service with some Mormon libertarian roots. And over time, they found very quickly, this isn't making us a lot of money. So now, instead of saying we're a Christian streaming service, Angel Studios says we're dedicated to content that brings light to our audiences. Chick-fil-A, on the other hand, has a billion-dollar restaurant empire propping up its Chick-fil-A Play app. So I would wager that it's just a matter of time before you have something more explicitly Christian. Because I do think that Evergreen Hills is like Christian light. Very, very loosely inspired by Christian stuff. And other things they have, and by the way, this app is only an app. There's no website, so you have to get it on iOS or Android. And once you open it up, for listeners out there who remember Homestar Runner, the landing page for the app looks almost exactly like that in terms of like the buttons that you can click on. So you can listen to podcasts, you can read motion comics, you can play some games, and you can also look at recipes. And this is funny to me because I read all the recipes, and they have ingredients such as 12 Chick-fil-A nuggets halved, or Chick-fil-A sweet and spicy sriracha sauce. So even they're keeping the branding consistent throughout every aspect of the app. It's very, very funny.
Get McDonald's as a replacement for your Chick-fil-A nuggets.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, it does not match. No. So the app is just, it's something that similar to, I mentioned Buffalo Wild Wings earlier, but you remember that well, I say remember, I don't know if y'all have experienced this, but they used to have these little gaming tablets that you could play at Buffalo Wild Wings, which they then converted to something that's like a little tablet built into the table. I anticipate one day you walk into a Chick-fil-A restaurant and they'll have little tablets built into the booth where you can just open up a program and watch it as you eat food.
Yeah. And so in terms of the Cathys, I know that they've been like big donors to like all sorts of organizations, like Christian organizations, and been like very anti-gay marriage. Can you just tell us a little bit about some of their other extracurricular interests?
Yeah, so 2019, Chick-fil-A actually made a point to say, hey, we're not going to donate to any organizations that are anti-gay marriage anymore. Instead, they donate to, where is it in my notes here? Apologies. Oh my gosh, I had it. Oh yeah, so instead of donating to charities that are like explicitly homophobic, they now just donate to the National Christian Charities Foundation, which is kind of like a asset management firm for charity donations. So you just give it to them and they're like, oh yeah, we'll sprinkle some money here, we'll sprinkle some money there to bring about, the Seven Mountains paradigm for Pentecostalism. And it's just like a lot of these end up going to groups that support the Heritage Foundation and dismantling the Equal Rights Amendment. And just like, I think that that's way more nefarious. It's one thing if they're out and saying, if you buy this chicken sandwich, you will, your money will go to hurting gay marriage and gay rights. It's another thing to just cover it up because it's very mentally cumbersome to understand the octopus of like where your money is going and who owns what. I always like to point out that the chicken sandwich wars of 2020 or 2021, where every fast food restaurant had a chicken sandwich, and it came down to the biggest contenders were Burger King and Popeyes, which are owned by the same German holding company. So it doesn't matter. It's so crazy. Chick-fil-A and McDonald's are the ones that are, well, no, I believe McDonald's is owned by a holding company. Chick-fil-A is independently family owned.
When the whole like threats to annex Canada started coming up, a lot of Canadians like started being like, we're gonna buy Canadian, we're gonna we only want Canadian stuff. Get this.
They're going to Tim Hortons.
Yeah, well, which I was gonna say. Guess who owns Tim Hortons? Burger King, baby.
All right. Well,
Burger King bought Tim Hortons a few years ago, and all these like Canadian yokels like waddle into Tim's, being like, "I support Canada," and it's like, What is Canada? What is Canada besides this faux Canadiana of like Tim Hortons? And it's like dog shit, by the way. Tim's is like, I go there all the time because I'm a pig and I like slop, but but like it's only there because it's convenient and cheap. It's probably the cheapest coffee you can get in downtown Toronto, $1.50 for a medium-sized coffee. But it tastes like shit, and again, Canadians love like their symbols, but all of it is owned by Americans. Anyways, just your chicken sandwich thing reminded me of that.
Just as a slight digression, Australia has its basically the guy who bought the Burger King franchise to Australia then had a big falling out with the US office. So it has this rival Burger King called Hungry Jack's.
Hungry Jack's.
Which is exactly the same logo, colors and everything, named after the guy Jack Cowan. And you just I think they advertise a lot on TV in Australia. And whenever my American boyfriend is in Australia with me, he's just completely weirded out because he's it's just Bizarro Land Burger King.
That's so it's so odd. I listened to a podcast called The Doughboys, which is very focused on chain restaurants. And so all of my big international travel plans are based around fast food. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go to China and have a fast food or go to a convenience store. And Hungry Jack's was on my list. But if we go to Australia, then we can go to the crazy Burger King that they have. I don't care about the Sydney Opera House, whatever. I can look at a photo.
Oh, you need to go to England and have a cheeky Nando's. I think the world's
yes.
Cheeky Nando's too.
Yeah.
No, you need to go to Greg's and have a sausage roll. The quintessential British experience is to go to Greg's, have a sausage roll, and then go to a Wetherspoons and have the most lukewarm beer you'll ever have in your entire life. A Carling if you're a true local.
Man, being in Texas, the only real local thing we had, our claim to fame, was Whataburger, which the family that owned Whataburger sold it to this holding company based in Chicago, and now it's going nationwide, and it sucks. Everyone has noticed a difference. It's just like when Lone Star got bought by Anheuser-Busch. It's like, oh, they changed everything. This is awful.
So just back to the National Christian Foundation. So they're the biggest Christian charity in the country. The Southern Poverty Law Center has said that they've sent money to 23 organizations that they have designated as hate groups. So a lot of it's the anti-LGBT stuff, but they've also donated to a lot of anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim groups.
Presumably also very pro-Israel, these people.
I mean, it kind of just goes without saying in this kind of world, right?
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned this before, but in terms of all the money they donate to these different organizations, that's one thing. But are they just going to expect this film studio to lose money forever? Are their accounts for the rest of Chick-fil-A's life going to be minus $500 million a year because you just want to do this for fun?
Well, I think this production company is going to do just fine because they are where every Marvel movie since Ant-Man is shot, and that is our number one export. It's these billion-dollar movie franchises, and it's
Marvel movies are shot at this place.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if y'all know that, but Hollywood, things aren't made in Hollywood anymore. So now
I didn't know this.
They're mostly getting made in Atlanta. And at first I thought I guess Tyler Perry has the huge studio out there. Maybe that's what's drawing a lot of new entertainment out there. But then when I discovered Trilith Studios, which is what Dan Cathy owns, it is the second largest production lot in all of North America behind Universal. And just every single Marvel movie is shot there.
Georgia had huge tax breaks years ago that they put in for films, and then Louisiana copied it. But then after the writers' strike the other year, a lot of stuff has just disappeared from Louisiana, but Georgia certainly had the infrastructure and massive studios like this.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, if your meal ticket is the largest franchise ever, with Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Downey Jr., and Scarlett Johansson are the three highest paid actors in all of Hollywood, I guess. And what do you know? They all blew up in these Marvel franchises. I think Robert Downey Jr. is getting $80 million for returning to the MCU, and Trilith Studios is getting a cut of that. So Marvel is going to keep this company afloat. Chick-fil-A is going to keep this company afloat. That app is going nowhere unless people don't use it. I think they'll be okay with sinking money into that thing because it's their soft power, it's their propaganda arm. If this is a app for kids, you're also building brand loyalty within these viewers of your content. which is kind of nefarious as well. That you're just like, your parents take you to Chick-fil-A and you're immediately just like looking at this streaming service that's giving you content that you really like, that's reinforcing that your food's really good. And then the recipes that you're experiencing are, what do you know? They call for Chick-fil-A ingredients. We got to go to Chick-fil-A so I can cook with mom and dad at home. It's so gross.
Yeah. They can't get shoehorned into Bluey yet.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, is that it's oddly right-wingers don't like Bluey. And
it's because it's seen as very woke, yeah.
Which is insane to me because, I babysit for a friend of mine who, is a big lefty organizer, and the books that she gets me to read her kid, I'm like, I don't think your kid who's 18 months old, I don't think they know like what social justice is, but okay, I'll read them this book. And on the other side, I've got like the Tuttle Twins, which is a crazy libertarian cartoon show that the president of Argentina has embraced.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I watch Bluey and I'm like, this is the safe middle ground. But no, it's too woke.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what is scary? Because I have a 4.5-year-old nephew who's like, really into like dinosaurs and stuff. So he's always watching things on YouTube Kids. And then suddenly my sister will just say like one like out of the blue, he'll just start talking about a certain toy. And like often they're in America and like she can't even get them in Australia. And they just do this like full, like basically it's like kind of like very subtle, almost like subliminal marketing to kids. And then she's just suddenly like trying to scramble to find this toy. And she's like, oh, it's only in America. But like there certainly is opportunity for like what Chick-fil-A are doing if they do want to insert this kind of shit into their programs.
Absolutely.
I can see that insofar as I remember when I was a kid, have any of you seen the first Spy Kids movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Do you remember the scene where they like flee, like the two kids flee into like the safe house after like, avoiding being apprehended the first time? And Carmen puts like the magic thing into the microwave that turns into a cheeseburger and fries. Do you remember that? Now, I don't know if you remember, but the color on those fries and the burger looked suspiciously like a Big Mac, and the carton colors were yellow and red. It didn't have the logo on it, but it was like clearly like McDonald's probably paid some significant amount of money to have that. And I remember watching that as a kid, and like every time I would watch that, I would start like craving McDonald's. And like I never connected the two in my head until recently, but yeah, this shit kind of works, which is where it's so disturbing because like I'm sure they hire like an army of psychologists to fine tune the exact like subtlety of these marketing tricks, whether it's toys or burgers.
Yeah, I agree with that theory, Amr. I think that Bluey and PBS shows, they will hire a child psychologist to kind of make sure that this show is good for kids. This show is not going to, manipulate kids or scare the shit out of them. And I would not doubt for a second that a more nefarious producer of a kid's show would be like, and how do we get them to buy the toys?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all Marvel is anyway. The reason why it took so long for certain movies to get made was because they thought, will this toy sell? That's the only reason. It's not the grand narrative. It's people making sure that the merch will also fly off the shelves as well as the box office seat.
Crazy.
Man.
And have they tried at all to get to like shoehorn any of their like philosophy of moral entrepreneurship into any of these films or anything that's been produced on their lot?
I have no hard evidence of that, but I firmly believe that they are. And the reason why is, look, I have a love-hate relationship with the MCU, and I have a buddy who, we came up together, we kind of grew apart, but we make sure that we go see every single Marvel movie opening night. We go see it, we leave, and we say, wow, that sucked. Nothing will ever be as good as when it was good, right? And it's just like our way of bonding. And yet, since the Ant-Man movie, which is when they started filming these things at Trilith Studios, these Marvel movies are wildly sexless. You don't see any cleavage. You don't see any, like, shirtless men. You watch and maybe this has a lot to do with Disney buying the Marvel movies as well, because if you watch pre-Disney stuff, you see they're kind of sexy. The Iron Man movies, before Disney took over, they had, very scantily clad models that Tony Stark was following around, Robert Downey Jr.'s character. But I think there is one kiss at the end of Ant-Man 1 on like a post-credit scene maybe between Paul Rudd and Kate Beckinsale. Wait, is that who played her? I think so. I could be wrong. She looks like the lady who's also in Underworld. I get them mixed up all the time.
Don't look at me, man. I don't watch Marvel slop. I like myself.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen a Marvel movie.
I stopped
my
after
God.
Infinity War. I think that was the one with like the big fucking portals and shit. And
Yeah.
I came out of that and I'm like, why have I done this for the past many years? Why did I do this to myself?
Yeah, 10
And then I
years.
stopped.
10 years
stopped.
up until Infinity War. And yeah, like, I don't have fun with them. I don't think that they're good movies, but here I am.
It's
I
not
watch
just
all
that
of
they're not good movies. For me, the thing about a movie is I want to go in and have a good time and leave. I don't want to do homework. Don't give me homework. I don't want to have to go and watch 3 TV shows to know what the fuck is going on in the film in the theater.
Yes, they have bit off way more than they could chew by expanding into television series and additional comics that tie in to prequels and all this crap. For me, the biggest defense I have for watching this stuff, man, I watch a lot of conservative shows for kids, and I need something to just, like, get a little stoned, turn my brain off. Like, on our podcast, Propagandos, we just found a kid's book called It's Really Fun to Be White. And after reading that, I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? What am I going to put on? Black Mirror? No, that makes me sad. Let me put on something that's just going to, like, completely kill my brain cell. I need the equivalent of inhaling helium after watching something like that.
I need to know more about this book. Who is it, like Stormfront Media or something that wrote it?
Oh my God, it's written by this guy named Stu Peters, and who proudly declares himself as the guy who introduced the Jewish question into mainstream discourse, and that he says that he's the one who radicalized Candace Owens. And so, like, my Amazon algorithm is completely fucked, and so this thing popped up on it, like, oh yeah, okay, I'll pick that up. It's AI slop for the art, and it's all like, being white is great. Don't you like marshmallows? Those are white. What about sugar? That's white. You like candy, don't you? That's white. And there are a couple pages with, like, kids of color, including one where it's just like a kid of color yelling at 2 white people just because they're white and they're evil because they're white, which is what some of these people believe DEI and critical race theory is about, is, you know, designing to make you feel bad for being white. So they write this counter propaganda to the propaganda they make up in their head. It's disgusting. My life is, I don't know why. I should have stayed with SNL and The Daily Show. This is so awful.
No, you're providing a service, but I'm also convinced that these things are like, you're just providing like a pipeline of kids who are going to be like left wing, because it's like, yeah, if you're like fed that shit from a young age, you know, there's like a lot of people, you know, you're just whatever like is being forced down your throat, you're going to say no, fuck off and look for other things. Like,
that's what I'm hoping for. There's a podcast called GSD Nation where it's a dad and his 2 libertarian right-wing kids. They're very young and they break down the news of the day and provide commentary on it. And if you look at the comments, it's full. Yeah. If you look at the comments, it's like, one day your kids will rebel and you will hate them. And I'm like, that's kind of the most we can hope for. That
to
they'll
be
like,
fair, I mean, you're right, Ellen, that, you know, if you force feed this stuff down someone's throat, they will rebel. But I don't know if they'll turn to be leftists. What if they become jihadis?
that's true.
You know, if you spend your entire childhood being told, like, you know, Christianity is good, being white is good, you're like, no, I want to join ISIS. I want to go to Raqqa.
Yeah. I mean, it's what ISIS is like. Is ISIS anywhere anymore? Have they?
They have IS Khorasan, which
yeah,
is
in
Afghanistan, but it's like an insurgency, not so much. They don't own any territory. They're more or less cells, and I believe they have presence in some parts of Africa. But that's like very messy between IS Maghreb, which is IS, you know, more like the Western Africa, Northern Africa, IS West Africa, which is, you know, Nigeria, Niger, etc. JNIM, which is Jabhat Nusrat al-Islam al-Muslimin, and AQIM, which is Al-Qaeda and Islamic Maghreb. All of these different factions are basically fighting each other as much as they're fighting the government. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's got all the Hiluxes?
JNIM.
Okay.
And JNIM pretty much own run 2/3 of Burkina Faso, half of Niger, Mali, Chad. Like they've actually created themselves quite some turf.
Oh, wow.
But that's the thing about Islam. We're like, do it yourself. You don't have to watch a fucking film. You go out there, you get on a fucking Toyota, You're like, this is
So
this is
the
ours
wheelies
now.
in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what fascinates me about Christianity, though, is like all of these people are making these movies, and like the idea is like, we would make these movies and there's like subliminal propaganda, and like we're supposed to like convince people to like, follow baptism or whatever. But like there isn't any, like, I guess they don't need it because they're more or less control the state anyways. But there isn't really any active support for any like sort of militia against the state, is there? Like from these rich people, like your Cathy's or whatever, your what's the name of the fucking
the
guys?
Hobby Lobby guy.
Yeah, all of these people, like they're not exactly like insurgents by any means. Even though a lot of their films do glorify weird insurgencies. I'm thinking of that film that the Chapos did an episode on, the one like where it's like a post-apocalyptic thing and it's a Christian family out and they sort of survive out there. The Revenant? No, that's
Revenant?
not it.
Yeah, I vaguely know what you're talking about.
It's like this stupid...
Sorry, just very quickly, my mind is just back on when you're talking about Niger. Remember when they had the coup and the officers just like took over the TV and just had video of themselves like busting out on guitar?
That was so sick. That was awesome.
That was honestly one of the great days of my online life was watching that when that dropped. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm completely off track, but it's all I can think about is that guy just busting out over the top of military photos.
If we're talking about best days and coups, my favorite is the Turkey one where Erdogan FaceTimed into the fucking studio. That fucking ruled. He's like, you just see his head on a fucking iPhone, like, and this, like, the studio person is like holding the phone into the fucking TV. Incredible things.
Yeah, it was like a car guy video.
Yeah. Like, I guess my question is, I mean, why are, like, I guess soft power, there's place for soft power, and it makes sense. I mean, rationally, I kind of get it. I guess my question is, for all the money they're spending on all these different fucking studios and stuff, why don't they spend an equal money or less on, like, militias? I assume they do. I'm sure there's, like, down in America, I don't know how it works over there, but I assume there's, like, plenty of militias.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just curious. Like, the money would be a lot more worth it if they just take, like, basically Jainism, but Christian.
I imagine that there is some money going to militias, especially through the National Christian Charity Foundation, at least filtered through all kinds of different things. I would not be surprised. But, it's way more palatable to say, hey, this Hollywood company or this movie production company that's making the thing that you love isn't that great. You'd be like, yeah, that's Hollywood. So what? Like, yeah, they work with the Pentagon. Hollywood's always been a corrupt place. It's Hollywood sickos. But if you say, hey, Chick-fil-A is funding a militia, then you'd be like, oh, maybe I definitely should not eat at Chick-fil-A. Like, finding out that a company you like is funding a militia is definitely a little bit more abrasive, I think. Even with, in America, we have a constitutional right to form a militia. Eventually, Propagandos will have one. You should join up. Why not?
The podcast Civil Wars.
Yeah.
That will be the final frontier. I mean, also just the thing is in America, like you will go to small towns and things like that, and people say like, oh, such and such like owns the sheriff or like owns the judge or the mayor or whatever. So I think often like, yeah, and we don't, with the US like policing thing, yeah, if you're in control of the sheriff or whatever, that offers tremendous power. Some might argue, perhaps people who not like myself are trying to leave and return to the country shortly on a migrant visa. But yeah, some would argue that perhaps the US police is its own militia anyway.
Yeah, I think to your point there, Elle, I think this is a good time for me to mention that Trilith Studios also is developing like an event space as well as an actual town around the production company called the Town at Trilith Studios, or the Town at Trilith. And it's very similar to the Villages down in Florida, where it's just like a wealthy guy bought up a bunch of land, and sure enough, like, he owns the town. He owns the there's no real electoral governance. It's just like, yeah, Dan Cathy bought everything and appointed people. There's a really good story in BuzzFeed about how black people who were enticed to move to Trilith, the town, were told like, yeah, you'll be treated just like anybody else. And surprise, surprise, white supremacy runs deep even in the town at Trilith. And so they were being racially profiled. They were being ignored when there was flooding going on in their townhomes. The police would follow, kids home from the pool to be like, who are you? What are you doing here? They're the really heartbreaking story of a parent of one of these kids going to, it took forever for them to get a meeting with the town executive and the chief of police. Chief of police wouldn't even look at her, wouldn't even acknowledge her.
Wow.
And so, you don't need a militia when you own the town, when you own the government, when you are the government.
Yeah, that makes
That's
that makes
crazy.
sense. Yeah, I figured that, and also the movie I was talking about was The Reliant. I don't know if
Yeah. I do remember. I think, like you said, there was a good Chapo episode or something on it.
Yeah, it's like about like this like Christian family who survived some Antifa revolt or whatever. Classic thing we all know will happen.
Nothing will ever come close to Angel Studios' own Homestead, which was based on a book called Black Autumn. And man, I did a deep dive onto how all of these post-apocalyptic, I call them like eschatological entrepreneurs, because they're like, they've replaced the fallout shelters, and it's just like, hey, if there's an event, give $1,000 and you can live at our timeshare in case shit goes down. And they're all connected to the Black Rifle Coffee Company, which is
Of course
wow.
they are. Of course they are.
Yeah, dude. It's
Yes.
all these like former special forces that are just like, I started a coffee company and my friends wrote a book that like my coffee company's in, and now we're into If you watch Homestead, which is now streaming on Angel Studios, if you watch that, you will see them like holding mugs that say Black Rifle Coffee Company, like turning to the camera and sipping. It's so funny.
And you've mentioned Angel Studios a few times. So is that just its own? It's an independent Christian streaming app. Is that right?
Yeah, well, technically, they're not a streaming app. They are dedicated to bringing light to audiences. But yeah, they primarily, they used to host The Chosen, and they had like kind of a nasty fallout with the production team behind The Chosen, and they are more of a distribution company, similar to like A24, so they'll acquire all kinds of different things. They recently acquired a movie called Sketched, which is coming out, which had Tony Hale from Arrested Development and Darcy Carden, who are not like out and proud evangelicals. It's just they made a movie. Angel Studios bought it. And so their biggest movie that they purchased to distribute was Sound of Freedom, the child trafficking movie starring Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
That got made and was just like sitting on a shelf for 5 years until Angel Studios bought it and released it at the perfect time to create like a fervor. Like when it was made 5 years before its release, Hollywood was like, we're not touching that. That's crazy. What are you talking about? And then Trump's first administration came along. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to put out this movie and it's going to do gangbusters. The box office returns on Sound of Freedom floated Angel Studios for at least like 2 years. And so they have very few products that they can call original content, but they are just like buying up all kinds of things and putting it out there.
Yeah.
So why don't we just make up a fucking script and sell it to these people? We can make money.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, we can't get ad money for a goddamn podcast? Fine. We'll just make a script about how, King
get the
Baldwin
Mormons.
Baldwin defeated Salah ad-Din at Montserrat.
Yeah, you got to find some, you can't really tackle Christianity. Maybe you could do like a crazy sect that made Christians look bad. Be like, see, they're not all bad. And maybe Angel Studios will buy your movie. You just got to bring light. But why not?
They're Mormons, right? So you just got to go. It's got to go hard on Joseph Smith.
Yeah, I would love to see a miniseries about the Kingdom of Nauvoo. I think that would be really, really interesting. And I think
to Oregon.
Yeah.
And Oregon, the trek to Utah, yeah.
Isn't that the Netflix American Primeval? Isn't that what that's about? My dad keeps recommending it. I need to watch it.
I haven't seen it.
I do have one little thing to wrap this up, which is my grand thesis on all this is, if you look at the top 3 highest grossing superhero movies of all time, it's Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man No Way Home. And these are all filmed at Trilith Studios. And if they're not filmed at Trilith Studios, there's pickups done at Trilith Studios. They have a very good working relationship there, to the point where the Russo brothers, like anything they make is now done at Trilith Studios because they've had such a good working relationship with them. And the reason why I think that this kind of stuff, the Marvel stuff, is so important is I think it's worth noting that a lot of Disney content, be it Marvel or Star Wars, anytime they brag about having a gay character in it, it's always a scene where their homosexuality can be easily edited out. There's a kiss scene in Rise of Skywalker that was edited out for Chinese and Arab audiences, and Marvel.
Hey, we're there too. Let's go.
And, you know, these Marvel movies, the gay characters in The Eternals, which was not filmed at Trilith Studios, I should say, the homosexuality of that character is, you know, a kiss, sitting at a table talking about IKEA with his husband, and that's it. And that was heralded as like, oh, victory for equality. And again, not shot at Trilith Studios. I don't know if that was a choice by Chloe Zhao, the director, or if that was Trilith being like, cut this character or you can't film here. I have no way of knowing that, right? But I do think it's really insidious that popular nerd culture is being used once again to just like harm other people. You know, J.K. Rowling has almost ruined all goodwill she had with Harry Potter fans over her despicable anti-trans belief and the things that she does with her money to hurt trans people and to hurt trans people, not just in the UK, but across the world. And it's really disappointing because I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush because, trust me, Marvel bros can be very toxic. But there's something to be said about nerd culture being a place for the people who are looking for somewhere to belong, specifically the LGBTQ community. And so Trilith Studios is just taking their money and using it to poison them and using it to slowly strip away their rights. I say slowly. It's happening kind of fast in America right now, and I have no idea when they're going to pull the brakes. But beyond this, I mean, brands are becoming more ingrained in our day-to-day lives. And I hate to like kind of go off on this like Philip K. Dick kind of vision of the future. But I think that this kind of stuff is just paving the way for like a corpo state culture where like all these giant holding companies that have not just fast food industries, but they're also getting into entertainment. That's really weird to me. And it's not just fast food. I mean, Larry Ellison, who's, you know, in charge of Oracle and is part of the Operation Stargate with OpenAI and the Trump administration, his son, David Ellison, owns Skydance, which is about to become Skydance Paramount, which means he owns CBS. And CBS settled that lawsuit with Trump real quick so that the SEC wouldn't stop the merger.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Larry Ellison's daughter owns Annapurna Interactive. So all these really wealthy people, Dan Cathy's not an aberration, all these wealthy people are having kids that are just like, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go into the movies. And they're just like moving into entertainment. And so I mentioned the Seven Mountains earlier, and Elle, I know you know about this because when I mentioned it, you started nodding your head. Like, these are the 7 spheres of influence that Christians are trying to overtake. It's art, it's business, it's religion, it's politics, it is media, it is entertainment. And it's slow, it's trickling in. I don't know if anyone here has seen Superman Returns, but there's a very on-the-nose scene where Superman saves the day, he's stabbed by kryptonite, he crosses his legs, pulls his arms out, and falls back to Earth in a T-pose, very much like Christ on the cross, right? While it's not as obvious in these Marvel movies, I mean, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Iron Man, in Avengers Infinity War, he is doing a T-pose on the poster, and Endgame ends with him sacrificing himself so that everyone may live, so that everyone can be returned and be saved from the evil big bad. And martyr stories are not necessarily only Christian stories, but I cannot help but see the parallels in these things. I cannot help but see the like sacrifice yourself for the greater good kind of narrative that comes from a Christ narrative. It's just, I cannot help but see it. And maybe it's because I have a propaganda podcast and I'm training myself to notice these things, because I used to be the guy that would say like, Black Panther, yes. Did you know that the CIA wrote an article about Wakandan technology? And I was like, shut up. No one wants to hear this. But please, for the love of God, hear me when I say that Christian evangelicals, Baptist Christians, people who have a intent to dismantle everything that LGBTQ people have achieved for themselves in this country, they're making your favorite content. They're making the biggest movies that America makes for itself and the world. And that is, in my opinion, evil.
I think that's very interesting that you bring that up, because I do believe that for a period of time, like in the 80s, 90s, into like the aughts and the twins, like a big aspect of right-wing, like the right-wing sort of media sphere, like, you know, you're the radio hosts and the podcasters and so forth, were essentially all people that failed out of Hollywood. Like a lot of right-wing personalities just rage and resentment at not being allowed to do movies in Hollywood.
And
So I think this is the
Steven
revenge.
Crowder.
Yeah, Crowder, Shapiro, yeah. Like, all of them, look, and before them, it was even, what's his name? The guy who would wear, like, the fucking weird hat. The closet homosexual, I forget his name. Fuck. I just remember this because I was listening to the Felix series on Chapo about the rise of conservative media. But, like, a lot of them were failed out of Hollywood, and I feel like this is their, like, revenge. This is, like, the Revenge of the Sith, sort of, like, the Empire Strikes Back situation where...
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, fuck you. You don't want us? We'll make our own Hollywood. And we'll make it better than you can ever do it.
Yeah. I mean, look at Breitbart's coverage of Hollywood throughout the years. They've always painted Hollywood and California at all as these, like, dens of just, like, depravity. And so I also think that there is a added bonus to, hey, let's get all this stuff away from California and let's get all this revenue away from California into a right-wing state that is a right-to-work state. And let's just, like, destroy what they see as this, like, the right always paints California as, like, the evilest place in the nation.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm. And so this is all, I don't think that it was intended to hurt California's revenue stream, but I think that they're definitely seeing it as an added bonus to making billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, there is a real preoccupation on the, like, evangelical right in the US just with cultural power. You're always like I remember, like, it must have been in Trump 1 when, like, Robert De Niro got on stage at, like, some award show and was like, fuck Trump. And that just sent, like, it was one of those things that, like, you still hear people talk about. Like, it just sent them mad because, these people that probably, like, loved his films or whatever. And yeah, just that kind of repudiation. So obviously it's just like, well, fuck it. We're just going to build our own kind of parallel entertainment universe. And yeah.
But I think it's not satisfying because as much as they're building the parallel infrastructure, like you said, deep down their grievance isn't so much to, like, replace Hollywood as to be accepted by it. It's very interesting how the right has won the political battle, but they're so upset that they haven't won the cultural battle. They're so, like, the resentment. They're driven by the resentment that no matter how much wins they get politically, Supreme Court, presidency, legislature, they can never get the cultural victories, the sort of touchstones that we all know and love, TV shows, the movies, all of the, like, like, obviously, like, Iron Man, Jesus, etc. There is links there. I see that. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it's all like, none of, they can never win on their own account in Hollywood. And I think that drives them insane. And it's driven them completely insane.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we end every single episode with just saying, this has been grim. But it has been grim and it has been lovely.
Yeah, that's my podcast too. So if you love grim and lovely conversations, please listen to Propagandos, Propagandos.
It's a great show, and Arma and I have both been on it. I think Azama been on it like 3 times.
He's been on it 4 times.
Oh, wow.
He's been on it to talk about The Message. You've been on it to talk about Line of the Desert. We had you on an emergency episode to talk about the Israeli soccer hooligan or football hooligan story.
Amsterdam riots.
Yeah, the Amsterdam riot.
Yeah.
And then we had you on to talk about Warfare.
God, fuck off.
We talked about the movie Warfare. We had a debate.
Fucking dog shit movie. Everyone involved in that movie should be put in prison. I think we should open Gitmo to these people.
I'm so glad. So my brother is a veteran, and he really wants to come on my podcast to, like, counter what you have said, but he refuses to see the movie because he's like, I lived through it, man. I don't want to see it. I'm like,
then watch it. My criticism isn't of you. My criticism is of the fucking movie. It's a dog shit movie.
No, man, that's the thing. You can't criticize the war. Don't take it too personally.
It was so awful, man. It was such an awful fucking film. That and Civil War. And we got me and Alec got into debating Civil War too. Awful. God. Alex Garland. As Americans, you should be humiliated that this British director can presume as to what your military is capable of.
There is a long list of things that we deserve to be humiliated about, and Alex Garland's Civil War is pretty far down that list.
God, you're almost selling it to me. I want to go watch it now.
Let me
Just
know what
cook
you
an
think.
edible and watch it at home, and then you throw your remote into the fucking TV.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, we just watched, the episode I was in the other week. We watched Incheon, which was widely renowned as one of the worst films of all time, funded by the Moonies, about the Korean War with Laurence Olivier. Just.
Oh my God.
No one has ever. Just you can almost see him just walking up to the set each day to collect his paycheck.
Yeah, a real stinker, that one. But I'm grateful to have watched it. That's the kind of stuff we talk about on the show. Is like, is this really weird organization that has a lot of crazy shadow money funding a movie? Hell yeah, we're gonna watch it.
Absolutely. So it's a great show, and thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a
Thanks
blast.
for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Connor, appreciate it.
Cheers.